I teach a master's level class in economics, and there are discussion questions. One of the discussion questions asks something to the effect of, think of a time in your own life where you exhibited a behavioral bias. And I get to read all of these responses. Students very often do a really good job. But in reading a lot of these, I picked up on a pretty common misconception. There are two variations, and we'll each talk about one. One is when somebody makes more of an emotional decision as opposed to a quote unquote strictly rational decision. And they think of it as a bias, when that's really just not the case. One of my favorites was a man from Ghana, and he was talking about this practice in Ghana where men will ask women out on dates, but very frequently they won't have enough money to pay for the whole dinner. And so what they will do is they'll take them to dinner and they will say, you know what, I already ate, you eat. And so he'll be there with the woman, he'll buy a dinner, and then he'll be able to afford the dinner because he's paying for one. The woman knows what's going on. None of this is lost on her. But anyhow, he said, well, this is what happened to me. This is what I did. And I took this woman out and she married me and she became my wife. And that's my story of bias. And I don't know that that makes for a really good story of bias. It sounds like he got what he wanted. It sounds like he knew exactly what he was doing. And maybe he made his decisions more on the basis of emotion as opposed to rationality. But I don't know that you really call that a bias.
The other thing to keep in mind is that biases aren't the same thing as making a mistake or doing something wrong. Although biases result in doing something wrong, you can't always attribute a mistake to a bias. A lot of the time, someone, an irrational person, will take a calculated risk and it was risky and it didn't turn out how they had hoped. But that doesn't necessarily mean that their thinking was biased.
It's a really good point. Yeah, it's an important example.